Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful tools in your writing arsenal: dialogue. That's right, we're talking about those magical quotation marks that can make your characters leap off the page and straight into your readers' hearts. Think about it. Some of the most iconic moments in fiction are delivered through dialogue. You can't handle the truth. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I'll be back. These lines have become so ingrained in our cultural consciousness that they've taken on a life of their own, transcending the stories that birthed them. But what is it about dialogue that makes it so potent? How can you harness its power to create unforgettable characters, propel your plot forward, and make your fictional world feel as real and tangible as the one we inhabit? Well, my friends, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a thrilling journey into the art and science of crafting killer dialogue. First things first, dialogue is a window into your characters' souls. It's not just about what they say, but how they say it. The words they choose, the rhythms and cadences of their speech, the idioms and slang they employ. All of these elements work together to create a vivid portrait of who they are, where they come from, and what makes them tick. Take Holden Caulfield, the unforgettable protagonist of J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. From the moment he opens his mouth, you can hear his distinct voice ringing in your ears, cynical, jaded, and dripping with teenage angst. When he says things like, "I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff." You don't just understand his worldview, you feel it in your bones. So, how can you create that same level of depth and authenticity in your own character's dialogue? One key is to listen, really listen, to how people around you talk in real life. Eavesdrop on conversations at the coffee shop, the playground, the office water cooler. Pay attention to the quirks and tics of speech, the interruptions and fragmentary thoughts, the way people talk over and around each other. Then, when you sit down to write, try to capture that same sense of spontaneity and unpredictability in your dialogue. Let your characters interrupt each other, trail off mid-sentence, lapse into silence. Use sentence fragments, ellipses, and em-dashes to create a sense of natural flow and rhythm. And don't be afraid to let them speak in their own unique voices, even if that means breaking a few grammar rules along the way. But dialogue isn't just about creating compelling characters. It's also a powerful tool for advancing your plot and building suspense. Think about all the times you've seen a movie or read a book where a seemingly innocuous conversation suddenly takes a hairpin turn, revealing a shocking secret or setting off a chain reaction of events that changes everything. In Agatha Christie's classic mystery novels, for example, dialogue is often the key to unraveling the whodunit. Through carefully crafted conversations, Christie slowly peels back the layers of her characters' motives and alibis, dropping clues and red herrings along the way. By the time the final reveal comes, you realize that the answer was there all along, hidden in plain sight within the dialogue. So, as you're crafting your own stories, always ask yourself, how can I use dialogue to raise the stakes, introduce new complications, or hint at hidden truths? Can I plant a seemingly throwaway line early on that takes on new significance later in the story? Can I use a heated exchange between characters to expose a simmering conflict or power imbalance? The key is to make every line of dialogue count. Every word should serve a purpose, whether it's revealing character, advancing plot, or creating a sense of authenticity and place. And speaking of authenticity, let's talk about the importance of grounding your dialogue in a specific time, place, and culture. One of my favorite examples of this is Catherine Stockett's novel, The Help, which takes place in Jackson, Mississippi during the Civil Rights era. The dialogue in this book is so pitch perfect, so steeped in the rhythms and cadences of Southern speech, that you can practically hear the cicadas buzzing in the background. when one of the characters says, "I always thought insanity would be a dark, bitter feeling, but it is drenching and delicious if you really roll around in it." You're transported into the humid, languid world of the Deep South. To achieve that level of authenticity in your own dialogue, you might need to do some research. Read books, watch movies, and listen to music from the time period or culture you're writing about. Pay attention to the slang, the idioms, the turns of phrase that people use. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback from beta readers or sensitivity readers who can help you ensure that your dialogue rings true. But here's the thing. Crafting great dialogue isn't just about what your characters say, it's also about what they don't say. The pauses, the silences, the moments of tension crackling between the lines. These are just as important as the words themselves. In fact, sometimes the most powerful dialogue is the kind that's left unspoken. Think about a scene where two characters are arguing, and one of them suddenly falls silent, their jaw clenching and their eyes flickering away. That silence speaks volumes about their emotional state, their relationship dynamic, and the weight of the words they're holding back. As a writer, it's your job to use dialogue to create those moments of subtext and implication, to trust your readers to read between the lines and fill in the gaps. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, integrating dialogue with other elements of your story. Because here's the thing, dialogue doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's constantly interacting with description, action, and interior thought, creating a rich tapestry of narrative that immerses your reader in your fictional world. So, as you're writing and revising your dialogue, always think about how it fits into the larger context of your story. Use dialogue tags and action beats to convey tone, emotion, and body language. Weave in sensory details and setting descriptions to create a vivid sense of place. And don't be afraid to let your characters' thoughts and feelings bleed into the dialogue itself, creating moments of interiority and reflection that deepen our understanding of who they are. At the end of the day, crafting effective dialogue is both an art and a science. It requires a keen ear for language, a deep understanding of human behavior and psychology, and a willingness to experiment and take risks on the page. But when you get it right, when your characters' voices leap off the page and straight into your readers' hearts, there's nothing quite like it. So, my fellow writers, I challenge you to embrace the power of dialogue in your own stories. Listen to the world around you, dig deep into your characters' psyches, and let their voices guide you to new heights of storytelling. And remember, the most iconic lines in fiction didn't spring fully formed from their creators' minds. They were crafted, honed, and polished until they shone like diamonds. And if you want to support this channel and get access to even more exclusive content, there's info on that below as well. But for now, I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite examples of dialogue in fiction? How do you approach writing conversations in your own stories? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Because that's the beauty of dialogue. It's not just about the words on the page, but the connections they forge between us as readers and writers. So let's keep talking, keep listening, and keep weaving those magical spells with nothing more than the power of the spoken word.